All right, welcome to BEEVARSITY. Today we're going to be talking about how to write a first class essay because for every academic report you have, what you write in is either a small essay or a big essay, and some people just seem to know how to pass their essays. So, I want you to learn how to write a first class essay so you would also pass your essays good. So, what should you do? Or what's the agenda for today? That's what we're talking about. We're going to be discussing the different types of essays because if you understand different types of essays, you will be able to write better essays as well. So, what's the essay format? What is the structure? What are some winning tips you should do to make sure you produce the best, and then a summary of everything? So, welcome to BEEVARSITY. Welcome to the education we provide. We hope that you will subscribe at some point or like at least. All right, so do you always ace your essays? We hope you do. And if you don't, we hope that you start to. What is an academic essay? Let's start with that. It's just a short form of formal assessment that you write in a discursive format. All it has is factual information and scholarly opinions. So you write it, you present it well, and then you pass an assessment or a research project. That's an academic essay. So today we're talking about academic essays. The good thing about being good with writing an academic essay is this is a life skill that would translate into your life. So you become better at communication, you become better at speaking, you become better at writing, you become better at everything. So an education or your education is making you a better citizen for yourself and your family as well. So there are three types of essays. The first is you have the reflective essay, where you are allowed to give your opinion about any topic. Now, the thing with a reflective essay is whether it's said or not, you do still need to cite. So you might need to cite frameworks like Lenin theory, Gibbs Lenin theory, Cobb's Lenin theory, and stuff like that, because you are the only time you're allowed to speak in the first person. And the first person, since I'm saying I will be saying that I would. That's the only time. If it says a reflective essay, you can give your personal opinion because it's self-reflection review. Now, the next two essays, if it doesn't say self reflection, please do not write in the first person. Write only in the third person. So speak formally, but write in the third person. So, for instance, instead of going in the first person, it would be, I will be going to get that cup of water. In the third person, it would be, it, it, um, in the third person, it'd be something like, it'll be beneficial to get that cup of water, or something along those lines. So I'm saying I will be stating my opinion. It's beneficial to know that self-reflection is a vital life skill that most people engage in. So you can see I have said the second statement without saying I. So the third person is you don't see I kind of pronouns, you don't speak in that. So a critical essay is what most essays need to have. You speak in favor or against the topic, you find scholars, you give a pro and cons perspective. That's a critical review. And then the third type of essay is a constructive criticism essay, where you discuss a topic from different perspectives and then you come to an opinion. Most times, most essays will want you to give a critical review and then come to an opinion. So even if it's an opinion that's popular with yourself, you have to give scholarly views and cite as well. So that's the reason why a top tip for every academic essay, helpfully, is you must do at least two or three. So if it's a reflective essay, you say I. If it's not a reflective essay, even if we don't say it or whatever, if your assessment doesn't say it, you have to critically review in every academic essay, and then you might or you will have to have discursive essay, discussive essay format. So what are you doing there? All you're doing is making sure what you're discussing is in depth, What you're discussing is interpreting the facts and the theory. You're including a summary, pros and cons perspectives, and then the end, you are recommended. This is what you're meant to do when you need to write a fantastic essay. Another tip as well is this: to write good, you have to do what the people respected in academia do. The most respectable academic essays in academia are journals. So learn from the best. Go to your library, Google Scholar, read a lot of journals in your subject of interest. Learn from the best and you become the best. Read, read, read. You cannot get good without reading a lot. Emulate the best. Read four-star journals. Four-star journals are the top journals in your field. Study their abstracts. Study the body. Study the conclusion. Look at how they cite. Look at how they reference. Read their reference list. Go and look at their reference list and take all that and read it one by one, and then you get good. So learn from the best and you'll become the best. You start writing excellently. Now, the good thing with writing is a skill that develops with time. It's not something that most people are born with. It's something that develops like driving a car. You're not going to get good immediately. But the more you drive, one day you're going to you start driving an autopilot. So that's what you need to do. So, what is the structure of an academic essay? It needs to have an executive summary sometimes, but it must have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So an executive summary, let's start with that. What is supposed to be an executive summary? You need to basically summarize everything that's in the essay, but you need to write that last. So you need to ensure that it states what the problem is, what you started out to address, and then what the findings and the results are. Like I said there, that is an example of a journal. You just have a look at it. Like the abstract and executive summaries can mean the same thing. An executive summary is a formal, professional word for document. An abstract is more academic, but it's similar. It's about 200 to 200 words, 250, thereabouts. Sometimes some executive summaries are long. Please don't make it more than a page. Some people do too, it's here and there, but make it a page only. You're trying to summarize something, not write another essay in addition to another essay. Um, Even if the essay is set to be 3,000 words or 2,000 words. So that's what you do. You make sure you read a lot of abstract because that's an instance, an abstract of what is truth. Read it, see how other people write the abstracts, and then you do yours and how the introduction is. This format for what this journal is basically me showing you that this is how your essay should look aesthetically. Don't bring an essay or don't write an essay that looks all over the place. Write an essay, it's block format, looks neat, and it's good. When you see things that are neat, makes you happy. If your teacher or your lecturer sees a neat essay, makes them happy. They see an essay all over the place, they go, oh God, the mark starts to come down. It's probably what happens to some people. So, an introduction. What should go into the introduction of an essay? Remember, we've got introduction, body, and the conclusion. Introduce the subject you are to discuss. Define every concept. Provide any basic information. Have a thesis statement. So, for instance, it could be something along the lines of this essay will be discussed. No, don't say this essay. Um, Actually, if for instance they say discuss how vital water is to life, you should not just say I'm going to be discussing analysis of that. No, that's first person. It should be something along the lines of the life force would do well with having water as a vital form that it's been drank every day. So you see what just happened there? I started by discussing how water is great without saying this essay is going to be talking about water. Sometimes you don't have to do that. You just talk about it without saying I am going to be or this is about that, because that's not an abstract. This is the introduction of the topic and define the concept. So I may be able to say, so what exactly is water? Don't assume that your teacher knows every concept. They're not there to know it. They may know it, but they're trying to see whether you know it. So don't just assume they know it. Just discuss it as if you're speaking to someone who doesn't know it, but you're trying to impress them with the knowledge, but also simplify it. So communicate the main thesis problem. Water is essential to life because one that drinks water would have excellent health. So communicate why it's important. So what's the main thesis statement? And then summarize. Along the lines, this essay is going to be discussing the essentials of water to the body, essentials of water to plants, essentials of water, and discussing the framework about water as a source of life. So you can see what I've done there is I've talked about a model that I'm going to discuss and talked about those different sections. So let the reader know what to expect in the essay. That's what you do. Now, the Manchester Academic Phrase Bank, I've been saying this to a lot of people, is a fantastic resource. It will help you learn how to write better, introduce your work, and do all these things with getting better. This is what they do. This is fantastic. It'll help you introduce your work, refer to your sources, being cautious, how to write well, how to contrast, how to define terms, how to explain causality, how to give examples, everything. They're fantastic. Go look at it and learn. Uh, so now we go to what? Essay Buddy. The Essay Buddy is now where you put the main meat of everything. Or let me not say that word. We put the body of everything. Now the titles of sections appropriately. Make sure your titles are there. What tends to happen is because students know you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, they will title the body. Don't title the body, please. The body has themes, it has titles. Use the titles. Do extensive research. Look at what the textbooks, how they title the body of the work and title as such. Look at how yeah, that's a good tip. Use the textbooks. How do they title it? This is what you should do. Go extensively and read, review your literature in the field, define any other more concepts. And then, guess what? While you're reviewing findings, make sure the body has at least one framework. Every topic under the sun has got a framework. Your job is to review that framework, talk about how real life scholars talk about it, the ones that support it, the ones that don't support it, give us real statistics, give us real examples applied to the framework. Because when the framework was studied, most times, especially if it's a management studies, it was applied to companies. Give us other companies that applies to, or the industry and the statistics. Go to Statistica, get statistics. Don't just write words only. Don't make it boring. If people have to read whole chunks of big blocks of of words, so it can get boring. You should put statistics, put words, put graphs, put figures, put images, and make sure you title and cite them. Figure one, title, citation. Apply the examples, discuss this, present all the facts about this, whatever it is you're doing, and then paraphrase effectively and cite extensively. We can never say enough of this. Paraphrase everything and cite extensively. And guess what? The Manchester Academic Phrase Bank has shown you how to bring sources together. So you'll be able to see something like similarly, Nicolaides 2006 found that blah 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 said this. In the same vein, Smith in his book XYZ said that. This view is supported by Jones, who writes that. That is how sometimes you bring different sources together. Don't just read only one source. You have to be able to compare and contrast and put different things into it. Or unlike Jones, Smith and Jones argue that you have to contrast. In contrast, because remember it's critical review. So critical review is a pro and cons perspective before a recommendation. So that's what you do. You can also introduce criticism, like we said. So, more recent arguments against X have been summarized by Smith and Jones. While many analysts now argue that the strategy of X has not been successful, blah, blah, blah. So, that is what you do. And then, remember, you will now conclude. What is involved in having a conclusion? You now provide a summary of the main findings and the predictions, or if there is any predictions, or just summary of the findings. You now bring in recommendations, short term, mid term, long term. Highlight any empirical and theoretical and practical knowledge contributions with their significance. Make sure that whatever you're recommending has limitations considered. Every time there is a recommendation, there's also a limitation. If, for instance, you're advising a company, they need to know what it is. So, for instance, if you're saying to a company, we feel that the best color for your logo is going to be green, you have to tell them what the limitations of that are. Sometimes when people have disabilities, they may not be able to see green. It's just different things like that. Everything under the sun has got a limitation. You have to at least discuss one. And then you go have your nice reference list, whether it's Harvard, AP, whatever. Make sure that it's relevant. And then all your long tables and images, you can put them in the appendices. So remember, the top tip about how to write a great academic essay is your introduction, presentation, and your conclusion. That's buddy. Introduction with it. But make sure you emulate the best and the four-star journals in your field because that is how you know how to write great. All the four-star research in your field is considered original work, is significant, is rigorous. This is where all the respectful work goes to. If you want the best, you have to do what the best is doing. Now, this is what you should not do. Do not cite web links in the body, please. This is what we see a lot of students writing da 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 in the left column. I know where you are, left, right. It depends on how you're looking. Left, I would say. And then they put in a web link. Don't put a web link in the body of your work, please. Instead, cite something like this: Jack 2023 says da, or stated or asserted, and then in your reference list, write it properly. Name of author, and then the title available at assessed on 20th of March when you saw it. This is what you do. Do that, especially writing as don't do what's in the left, do what's in the right. So what's in the right is look at how great that essay or that journal is structured. That's how you write. Look at how well cited it is. Every paragraph has got citations. Like in the body of your work here, every paragraph should be a new chain of thought. Make sure you do that. So make sure that, remember, you also use authoritative sources for your journal. No, sorry, for your essay. Well, your essay could become a journal because an essay and journal are similar. Use your core textbook. If you have to use definitions, use your core textbook. Do not go to a blog, which a lot of students are fond of doing, and find definition there. Blogs are good, but they're informal work. You're doing formal work. Academic work is formal. Don't go to a blog. Use your textbook. If you need to define any concept, use your core textbook. Any academic publishing. Use the journals. They're peer reviewed. Peer reviewed journals are journals where a body of experts sat down together and said, this is the highest form of academic work. We respect you. And if you use what's respected, you'll be respected as well. So use peer reviewed journals a lot more in your work. Industry websites. Every industry has got industry websites. Remember, do not put web links. Any primary data, conference papers, make sure you use reports that have facts, data, statistics that contains experts in your field, academic lectures and presentations, any government or educational website. It's good for public sector information or statistics or data. And then think about whatever you read, who wrote it? Is that person an expert? And has it been properly referenced and cited, documented? Is it empirical work? You have to evaluate sources and support the reliable evidence. Don't go for fake news, go for facts, data, statistics. And then make sure whatever you're reading refers to previous research. Remember, critical review, the pros and cons perspective. If it doesn't, then it's not great work. So, this is what you do. Do not, please, do not, for whatever reason, use any resource with no date or the name of an expert. Do not use any pedia. Do not use online encyclopedia. Wikipedia is great for you to read and gain general information about a lot of things in life, but it's not an academic resource. The only reason why Wikipedia is not an academic resource is because it's actually very well written is because it's been they've given a lot of people the ability to go there and write and change things. So sometimes the information there might have a bit of a but, and it's not meant to be an academic resource anyway. So no Wikipedia, no Investopedia, and all the PDFs, they're great, but they're not academic reference material. Don't use magazines. Magazines are sensational. They're subject to bias. You're not there to be sensational. You're there to be an objective, subjective scholar. That's what an academic work is. Sensationalism should be discouraged. It's too subjective. Don't use blogs. We see anyone that uses blogs as a lazy student. As marketing. And then don't use too many websites. Too many websites spells lazy student as well. Use more journals. That's a good student. Don't use essay sharing sites. This is happening a lot more recently. A lot of people will go, yeah, an essay website wrote it right. I'm just going to go take that paraphrase and use it. Don't do that because the reason is you're not going to be growing. We need you to grow, or you need to grow for your own sake. Your job is not to go get someone to write your essay for you or to go to a website that has already written an essay and take that and paraphrase it and try to pass. It's cheating and you're probably not going to be helping yourself either. Famous quotes, nah, don't use any non-peer reviewed sources, don't use any unreliable facts, no unreliable statistics, do not, that does not refer to previous credible research and anything that cannot be cited and referenced academically authoritatively. Do not use it in your work or you're not going to get good grades. So, one thing you got to learn with academic work is a good assignment will require mastery in fundamentals. What you need to do or learn is that academic work is like we said before driving a car. When you start, you're not good. You might get frustrated. You might, drive off a curb and do all sorts of things, but eventually you get good at it. So what you need to do is know that sometimes we'll go to a hotel to work, but sometimes we'll go to sleep and for leisure. What you need to know is academic works like that. If you need to get fitness is not to go and sleep. Do the work and you'll get good grades. So these are quick tips before we go. 30 tips actually, so get ready. Number one, you have an assessment brief. Plan your output and research widely. There's an 80-20% rule in academia. 20% of what you need to learn is introduced to you by the school and your lecturer. 80% of it you need to go do the research, and that is how you get good as an autonomous worker, an autonomous student, or autonomous professional. Do the work. Use the marking rubric or criteria. Most universities or most schools now have a way of saying, okay, if you do this, you will pass. If you don't do this, you will not pass. Why is it that a lot more people do the opposite? Have a cover page, the right cover page. Have a table of contents, especially if it's a long essay. Make sure these four parts are in your essay: the introduction, the body, the conclusion, and the reference list, especially if it's a short essay. Make sure you have good theory and applied evidence. Make sure your keywords, all the top keywords, have been considered in your discussion of the body. Number six, definitions. Your title has got keyword that needs to be defined. Has it been defined? So if your keyword is entrepreneurship is a valuable career choice, I have to know that there is a definition for entrepreneurship in the body of the work. What are your abbreviations? Have that. BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, and all that. Don't just put abbreviations and expect people to know it, even if it's their field. Write it out in full first before the next paragraphs. You will start abbreviating. Don't just put that as the first abbreviation. Number eight, critically review. Be analytical. Have your pros and cons perspectives. Cite. Be interactive. Be engaging. You will not read a work that's not engaging. Why do you expect your lecturer to read boring work? Number nine, be constructive. Suggest ways in which your research or writing could improve prove with citation. Means that anything you're talking about, cite it basically. And then number 10, if your essay does not have a framework, at least one, then it's missing something. Its subject has modules. What you were taught in school has a framework, use one. So, for instance, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, number 11 is whether you're writing evidence based. Do you have the key scholars? Every field has got some key scholars. Um, who is this? That survival of the fittest. Which field is that? You probably know. History, biology, economics, entrepreneurship, management, leadership, any science base. There are some key scholars. You have to know them, you have to cite them. Number 12, real life examples. We live in the real world. Academic work is not something that is so far out there that no one knows it. Every company was built from, most times, someone that went to school. Or at least they're in your textbooks. Find them and write those examples, those industry examples. Use real statistics. Go to Statistica. Cite real statistics. So, for instance, some people are more logical or objective in the ways of thinking. There are about 7 billion companies, or sorry, not companies, or people in the world, or something like that. And then have illustrations. Don't just put narratives, it's boring. Number 14, have illustrations, have images, have tables. Make sure they have titles and they're cited. Number 15, ensure the conclusion summarizes and addresses the recommendations with caveats. Caveats are just limitations. Make sure there are limitations discussed, at least one. Number 16, no, now make sure, just something to say. This winners list is not in any particular order. Just put it all together from the different things we've seen along how people write the essays. So, number 16, relevant literature. There are key articles and key scholars in your field. Make sure they are used in your essay. Do not use any no date data. There's too much information out there that whenever a student puts anything no date, they seem so lazy that their mark starts coming down. Make sure your topic or whatever you're discussing is up to date. Make sure basically your literature is at least 3 years old. So you can use anything from, let's say, 1930s or 60s, but make sure there's something as recent as well. So 21, 22, 23. Research widely, use many different sources, at least 10 resources for every 500 words, something like that. That's when we know you've read widely, because when you read widely, your information is also more, it's richer actually, it's beautiful. 19, avoid any non authoritative newspapers. Don't go for sensational news in academic work. And then number 20, make sure your paragraphs are not too long. Sometimes you see a whole page, let's say 500 words, a student will write one whole block, no breaking paragraphs, just it's like they're throwing everything at it, throwing everything at it, and in the end they expect anyone to read that. It's tedious to read. It means your work is coming down. Break down your work in paragraphs. Remember, the way you write is every paragraph should start with a new point, for instance, or something along those lines. So 3, 4 lines, a bit slightly more would do, and then cite every beginning or end of the paragraph. You can never oversight. Number 21, like we said, each paragraph should have a different point, different body, and all that. Use formal language, tell the story, be engaging, don't make it boring. 23, write in the third person, no first person pronoun, except, remember, if it's a reflective essay. Number 24, no personal opinions unless backed by evidence or scholarly citation. Remember, your opinions are great, but they're not academic opinions. Except if you have a lot of academic publications, your opinion in your essay it's not going to give of any value. If you're not a management expert, why are you trying to put your opinion rather than, let's say, Peter Drucker? That is what you need. So if you've got a good opinion, guess what? There's probably a scholar that also has the same opinion. Cite them. That's how you get good. 24. No, actually 25. Paraphrase. Paraphrase, paraphrase, paraphrase. Use synonyms, no cut and paste. Cite, cite, cite. Make sure your turn-in similarity is less than 10%. So, leads us nice in 26. Cite, cite, cite. You can never overcite an academic paper. No web links or citations as well, please. 27. So you finish your work. Proofread everything. Edit out all the bad grammar or the spelling mistakes. Reduce them. 28. Turn it in. Should not say. You see some people submit work with 40%, 50%, 90% turned in similarity, and you're wondering why would you do that to yourself? You have the opportunity to test it out first before citing. So test it out, and if the similarity is too high, take it down and reduce paraphrase. Number 19. Your reference list should be consistent. If your academic institution says Harvard, use Harvard. If it says APA, use APA, and the rest. My tip is look at how journals do it, look at how books do it, look at how it will help you to include, like we said, books, industry, webs, and stuff. And then number 30, have appendices. You might have that, you don't have to have it. If you've got a lot of, like I said, long tables, long images, long paragraphs, put in the appendices. But make sure you refer to it in your work. Because sometimes we see that where people have appendices, they don't refer to it in their body of work. They just take a lot of things, dump it at the back, and then you're thinking, okay, which appendix refers to which body or which paragraph. Make sure that is clear. So remember, if you read plenty of your subject matter, you will gain valuable life skills and great communication skills. So read better. So in summary, your essay can have an executive summary, which have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. In the introduction, state the topic, define the key concepts, summarize the scope, and the main body. Develop your points and themes and paragraphs. In the conclusion, summarize and recommend. And then you have a great essay X factor. Make sure you have at least you to do a pro and cons perspective, that's for and against. You do a discursive essay. If they say reflective essay, if they don't, do not put personal opinion. Have your introduction, main body, your conclusion, have your introduction section, your problem statement, hypothesis, and then your body, your different paragraphs, your points. The conclusion would have solution or recommendation and significance. So, happy writing! Thank you very much for watching. I hope that if you have any comments, put it in the comment below, or you can check out some of our other videos, like something like we have a video on academic citations and referencing, how to avoid plagiarism. You can check that out. Or we can hold your hand. We do virtual supervisions and coaching. We will not write for you, but BEEVARSITY will be able to rely on, or you can rely on BEEVARSITY for knowledge of how to write your assessments, of how you're being graded, and we can look over your work before you submit it for fee. Thank you very much, and good luck writing your first class essay. Thank you. Bye.